and around 20 national journals and 20 plus international conference. Regarding the reviewers, at present he is the reviewer at many journals. While IET Generation Transmission and Distribution, IET Smart Grid, IET Renewable Energy, IET Communication, then Electrical Power and Application, IET Image Processing, IET Smart Cities, and the list continue. So regarding the funding, he was get the research grant from DST and other bodies from around 5 crores. And his area of interest is distributed load flow, smart grid, and restructure power market and power quality. Thank you. I think the time is yours, sir, Professor.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your brief introduction. I request all the participants to mute your audio so that our session will be more interesting. I thank Professor Rajsekharan, our Dean Admin, MAM College of Engineering and Technology, for giving an excellent introduction. And I also thank our principal and HOD for giving opportunity to take this session on art of writing research papers. And I hope that the session will be very interesting. We will do our level best, and I will share my thoughts so that all our participants will have a takeaway from this session. So once again, good morning, everyone, and we thank you for showing interest on our webinar. And this 1 hour, we will go through the journey I have learned through research, and I will be touching the most key points where it will be very helpful to present your papers and to write your papers and publish your papers. So before going, for all researchers, even including me, when we started our research, it was so confused that all your other colleagues who are doing research with you will be telling that, oh, this research field is very difficult, the supervisor will be very tough, you need to identify a problem, what problem statement you are going to answer, what problem you are going to face. All those things, they will create a junk, and everyone will show something which is like a jungle you're entering into, and you will be very confused. So I feel that all the researchers would have had this confusion. So the more we think, the more we are confused. That is what we did. So here I will make it very easy for you to proceed with research, and all the young budding researchers who are started your research will have a good idea after this session. So I have we have so many participants. Our registration have crossed more than 1,000, and as we have a Google suite which can accommodate 250 participants, and around 1,000 live streaming people are there presently. So more than 1,200 participants are presently watching this session. So before going into it, while we are starting to write a paper, what things you need to do is, first of all, you should have an overview of what we are going to present. So what you need for your paper. So first of all, the research field, what you have chosen, you would have identified a problem statement. You would have started working for your research, and you will be doing so many analysis, so many reviews, everything you would have completed. And once you have landed up to write a paper, you will first, what you need to know is what you need for your paper. Then next is the topic questions. What do you need to put into your paper? First, what do you need for your paper, and what you are going to put into your paper, and what are the choices, the disasters for your research. These are the 3 overview requirements for first starting the paper. So what we are going to write, so what paper we are going to write, what we are going to put in that paper, and what hurdles we are going to face before completing that paper. All those things we need to know. Then your outline should be written before you start the paper. You need to write an outline that what are your key objectives of your paper, what you have addressed to overcome that objectives, and how you have proceeded, and finally how this paper is going to be having some novelty than the other work. Like that, you need to have a clear outline of your paper. So this outline, it organizes your thoughts and creates a plan, so you know how your paper will look like. So you need to imagine that, yes, I am going to write a paper. These are the results what I'm having, and using these results, this is how my paper is going to be there. Like that, you need to imagine your thoughts. Then once you start writing this paper, you need to tell the audience what you will explain in your paper. So because whenever we are writing a paper, we need to satisfy the audience. So as a reader, what are their expectations? What we are going to communicate this to the researcher, what we are going to communicate to the audience who is going to read your paper, there you need to have a clarity on that. Whether that audience will be having an interesting thought of reading your paper, whether they will understand what we are going to communicate to that paper. That is the second step, which is very, very important for us. Then you are required to use a minimum of 3 resources always. When you write a paper, you need a minimum of 3 resources. That is, you must at least have a book reference, a website reference, an encyclopedia reference, or the latest journals which you are referring. These the minimum resources are needed for a paper. So let us see the 5 fast steps for making the paper more interesting. The first step is researching. You need to do a thorough research on what we are going to write. I have done a research. I have arrived with some results. My results are different from what already it has been done. I have done a researching. So first of all, what you need to do is you need to search that in what way your paper is going to be unique from the other papers which have been already published. So first of all, you need to find the information which is needed. So next is searching the resources. The resources from the various databases, your encyclopedias, dictionaries, journals, etc. That how your paper is going to be different from other paper, how your paper is going to be having some novelty, how your paper is going to I request everyone to mute the mic, please.
Some disturbance is going on.
Yes, sir. Request all the participants to mute your mic because we have more 91 participants here and 1,000 people are watching live. I request everyone to mute your mic, please.
Yeah, now it's clear.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So first of all, we need to do research. We need to find the information of our paper. We need to search for the resources. And then we need to take printout of all the papers what you have downloaded. And you have to make highlight of the relevant information what you have done. So before writing the paper, the complete references what you are going to show in your paper, what are all which is related to your research, you need to download it, you need to take a printout, read the papers thoroughly and highlight the information which is needed there. And after that, doing all that researches, you need to cite the bibliography from each rows. So because any paper as a reviewer, I am reviewing in more than 12 journals. Whenever we are from IET, we have been given some training for reviewing a paper. So there we are insisted to see the references first. So whenever a reviewer is taking a paper for review, I will tell you what are all the key things which a reviewer will see. First of all, the reviewer will see that whether the title is related to the scope of the journal. Then he will read the abstract. Then he will read your introduction section. Then he will read your conclusion section. And then he will thoroughly see the references what you have done in your paper. So based on the quality of researching, this is a very important part of your paper. How quality you have found the other resources, and from that how you have consolidated your literature survey, and from the literature survey how you are unique with your paper. That is very important. So this part of the first 5 steps is very important to find the resource, highlight your information, consolidate your work, and cite your bibliography. Then next is we have to fit it together. So organize the information, how it has been developed, how it has been proceeded, what other researchers have done, and what is our research. All these things you need to fit together, and you have to consolidate the points. So after reviewing the data, develop the basic contentions and subpoints. The next thing is you need to group your research into content of each bit, and you have to segregate your work. Suppose if you are taking one small topic, there may be n number of subtopics, and your research may be convinced, or it may be towards one subtopics. So you need to group it in a proper way so that you can correlate each group, and you can tell that your research is somewhat different from other research, and it has been something unique and some novelties there in your research. Like that you need to do. Next is you need to develop your own thoughts and analysis. Suppose there will be some work where it is a mind throwing work. You need to see the work what other researchers have done, and you need to correlate to your research, and your own mind thoughts will come into picture. That we need to write and keep it very clearly. And if we are doing research, we need to discuss with our supervisor, sir, this researcher has created like this, and I am doing this work. Can I correlate this research with this? Will it be feasible? Like that you need to check with your supervisor. So your supervisor will apply his own thoughts, and he will arrive into a work that, yes, this work can be applied to this work, you proceed. Like that you need to fit it together. Then you need to construct the thesis statement. So thesis statement is nothing but that is an umbrella statement including each contention. So under the thesis statement only your fit into. So then make an outline and fit contentions and subpoints. The next third step is writing. Again, I'm telling here, most of they don't practice writing. They used to type. So typing and writing is different. When you write, only your mind and again, I'll request you to mute your mic, please. So when you're writing, your mind and your pen will get correlated, will get connected, and what process which is coming to you will be written into your research. But when you are typing, you will be seeing the typesetting, whether the font size is correct. Like that, so many other disturbances will be there for you while you are typing. Third process is writing. Writing is the correct procedure for writing a paper. It is not typing. So follow your own outline. Incorporate what are all the things you need to introduce in your paragraph points. I request you to mute the mic, please. Paragraph that
అంటే ఓన్ చేయించాం సార్. ఇప్పుడు మీ సిఎస్సి నేనే చేసిన సార్, నేనే గైడ్ అనమాట. ఫ్రమ్ ద లాక్డౌన్ నుండి ప్రతి రోజు కానీ ఆల్టర్నేట్ డేస్ కానీ వాళ్ళతో చేయించుకుంటున్నాను నేను. నేనే 21.
So you need to write, follow your outline, incorporate the introduction and with the way it is developed in your thesis, paragraph the points, correctly incorporate data and quotations, and cite quotations according to the chosen documentation. We will clearly explain one by one, and do your own analysis and your perceptions of the relevance of the thesis after each bit of original conclusion and recapitulations. So writing is an art. You need to, so the art of writing a paper is very clear that the first of all, when you do a researching, when you fit it together, the third step is you need to write it on your own. So when you want to avoid plagiarism, you write it on your own, it will be very clear. The bibliography finishing touches. It creates the work cited, confirming to chosen to the documentation style. And finally, follow the step-by-step guidelines provided.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello. You can put all participant audio in mute position, sir.
Yes, sir. I will do it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So we need to find last step is the bibliographic and finishing touches. That is our fourth step. So whatever was cited, you need to bibliograph, and you have to follow the steps which has been given in the guidelines for the authors. And you need to also find out whether any acknowledgement has to be given. All those things you need to do. Finally, you need to find the paths to publication. So you have written the paper. You have identified what research you need to do. You have fitted all your ideas. Then you have written the complete guidelines, and you have completed your paper. And final, the simple steps is to find the path for publication. So what title you have done? You need to identify the journal, and you need to find out the title, abstract, and also, very importantly, whenever you are publishing, you should also see to that the editor is from which area, which journal he is having, how long he is of that journal. Things also you need to do, and you have to find the outline, writing, and submit. So whenever you plan a paper, this is a stage it will happen. So first one is the planning stage. Identify questions to be answered, analysis to be reported, and target place of publication. Then you need to find out the page size, outline, headings, everything. And whenever you want to do the framework, I would always recommend that you can follow LaTeX documentation. That when you type in a word, it is very difficult for a paper. So much of your efforts will be going in the typesetting, documenting, everything. But whenever you use LaTeX, your outcome will be based on the requirement of the journal. You need not put your efforts on the documentation. And finally, you have to find out the first draft. Then, whenever you are finding out your first draft, you need to use the journal checklist and instructions to author. You have to follow all the things what the guidelines of the journal has done, and you need to present your second draft. So first of all, whenever you are writing, simply write your paper in your document. You write it, and then when the paper is filled, you have to identify the journal. In the next slides, I will tell you how to identify a journal. Once you have identified the journal, take the checklist of the guidelines that is given by the journal for the authors, and then prepare the second draft. So whenever you prepare the second draft, always you need the paper to your close friends and ask them to read the paper completely. Because whenever we write our own research work, we would have done the research for more than a year or two, and we will be writing a paper. So what for our mind is, even when there is not where everything, we feel that everything is being told in the paper, but the reader who don't know your research will not know what you are coming to tell, and what the objectives of your paper. He has to understand. So you have to write the paper, and you have to give the paper to your friends and ask them to read the paper, and you to explain that what you have written in your paper. If your authors or if your friends are all convinced, then you are coming to the fourth draft. So first you need to give to the co-authors, then you need to give to your friends, then you will get the final draft. Then after that, you need to do some English correction, because we are all not native English speakers, so we may have so many grammatical mistakes. So you can give it to your English teacher or some friends, so that you check the grammar. Nowadays we have many online tools also to check, like Grammarly and all is there, which will check for English. So after doing all these things, then you are ready with your final draft. So this is the plan to write paper. So based on the author perspective, the motivation to publish is dissemination is 54% the first choice. Then your career prospects, even after completing your PhD, you will be doing continuous research and you will be publishing, that is 20%. And whenever you want funding, 13% of our choices for improving funding. Then ego, my friends have written a paper, so I need to write a paper, that is 9%. Then for project protection and others. So this is the background of writing a paper in author's perspective. So what author is thinking about? The author publishing priority is quality and speed. I need to write a paper. I need to publish in a very good journal, and that journal has to publish the results very soon. This is the perspective of the author. So speed, referring standard, journal reputation are all coming into this picture, and we want our work to be published very soon. But let us see what the reader is thinking. So author wants to publish more, and you can see here, the reader is want to read less. So the journal, what it is expecting is, when the reader is, he will be capable of reading only less. He will have less time. In that less time, the reader has to get convinced about the paper. This is what is the reader behavior. So behavior want to publish more, and reader behavior is want to read less. And see here, the Elsewhere study. This is taken from Elsewhere study. And the reader priorities are, it is authoritative quality articles, ease of access, rapid delivery, and the formatting should be very convenient, and linking of information, that is clustering among groups, and low cost or low cost. So up-to-date information. These are the readers' priorities. So authors are journal focused and readers are article focused. So publish. So if you, this is the interesting slide here. You can see here, when the submissions are made 100%, around stage, the editor takes a decision. By 48% only he will make it okay, and 28% he gives to revision, and 24% he revises. After that, for the first review, this 48% and 28% will come collectively, only 66%. Then in that, 37% will go for revision and 29% will go for rejection. Then for the second review, from this 37%, 31% will come for second review and 6% is almost withdrawn. From this 31%, 26% is found to be published, and 3% for revision and 2% for the rejection. So finally, the 29% only the papers are published. Why I am presenting this slide is, every one of us wants our paper to be published in the first attempt itself. It never happens even for very strong researchers, because it depends on peer-to-peer review of the people who are reviewing. For example, if you take Elsewhere, almost around 6 reviewers have been given your paper. For the second revision, 6 new faculty is given, and the previous reviewers, only 4 faculty are given. Now it will become 10. So for when it is third revision, that will become 12. So finally, your paper is going to the 12 reputed reviewers. And again, whenever your paper is rejected, or whenever your paper is revision, you want to withdraw the paper, don't publish in the same Elsewhere again, because Elsewhere or IEEE, they have a set of reviewers in that domain. For example, in one field, let us take renewable energy conversion. In that renewable energy, we have 100 dominant reviewers who will be reviewing the papers again and again. Like that, Elsewhere will have the same reviewers. Maybe it will have a lesser reviewer in a different dimensions. So what will happen when you withdraw your paper from one journal, and when you're again sending it to another journal with the same form, there are 9 chances for your paper to go to the same reviewer again. So what happens is, the reviewer will become so tensed that he knows that this paper has been already reviewed by me. Immediately he will get rejected. So whenever the paper gets rejected, you need to work on it and do so many modifications, and again you need to republish or resubmit to other journals, so that we will see. So why we are publishing? we are publishing here is to increase human knowledge. Our writing is to improve the sense of completion, and for our work is to be promoted. So most of our Indian system of research is the fourth research, where our work need to be promoted. So we are doing research. So the ethical researchers are very less here. So what are the key elements of publishing? So the first and foremost issue is the ethical issues. Then comes the style and language, the structure of paper, components of the paper, article submission, and publisher process. So let us see one by one. So first come and foremost is the ethical issues. In ethical issues, you need to disclose the conflict of interest. Wherever you find that there is a conflict of interest, you need to disclose that. And whenever you have received any funding sources, you need to acknowledge the source where you got the fund. And if you have done any image manipulation, you need to refer properly. You have to include the citations, or you need to redraw the image and you need to present in the paper. And then comes the online submission. There are so many things which need to be followed. And if you have done any health sciences work, like clinical trials, like that, you have done some testing and all, you need to get approval from that particular review board, and then only you need to publish your paper. So before publishing your paper, that ethical issue, all these ethical issues need to be followed so that your paper will come into a correct picture. Next is the structure of paper. So scientific writings are having a rigid structure. For the past 100 years, the same structure of paper we are following, and we have been bounded to read those papers. So whenever a reader reads the paper, he has the same attitude that he will expect the same thing. So scientific paper, we have the complete structure, what is there always. So some people will just refer to the title, and others will read the title and abstract, and only few people will go into the deep depth into the paper. So they will not read the entire paper. So the very challenging issue is, on seeing your title and reading your abstract, the reader should be convinced that he need to go to the next section of the paper. So your title and abstract need to be formulated very clearly so that the reader will be interested in going to the second part of your paper. So for having the structure of the paper, the previous scientists and researchers, they have formed this model. And this is the that initially they have formed this hourglass model. This is the hourglass. So first the introduction, then is the body and discussion. This inner model is called as hourglass. So what is this hourglass model is, whenever the reader reads the introduction part, he will get a broad idea about what you are going to tell this paper. Whenever the reader reads the introduction part, he will get a clear idea of what methodology you are going to use in this paper, what is the findings of this paper, something you are going to tell like that. That first introduction is the then he will go to the body of the paper, where the methodology is explained in detail, the results is given, discussion part is there. So this body will have methodology and results. So here he will get confused that he takes more time to understand what you are going to explain clearly. So that introduction part, he will get a clear idea. Then he will go depth into the body idea, where most of the time is being spent to understand your concept. Only when he is convinced in that body, he can proceed to the discussion section. So this is hourglass model. And next stage, the scientist found the King model. What the King model is telling is, if your title and abstract is very clear and your references are very clear, then the inner hourglass model can be made very easier. So King model is followed now. Our title and abstract and references should be very clear and it should be very understandable. Then inner hourglass model will be very easy. This is the structure of paper what we are following in the entire world. All the researchers are following only this model. So whenever you are writing a paper, you need to follow this logical order. And when you satisfy this logical order, your structure of the paper will become very clear. So I have given this in detail, where the upper structure will have the abstract, the problem statement, the methodology, what are the main findings, everything. Then the introduction. So in the introduction, it is very clear that what happened in the past decade, what remains unclear and why, what is the purpose of this study. All these things has to come in the introduction section. So what was the technology in the past? What was the research gap identified, which remains unclear? And finally, what you are doing to overcome that gap. That is what comes in the introduction section. Then comes the literature review. Then in your center part of your hourglass model is the methodology, where you will clearly explain that how the study was conducted, what analysis has been done, and how you have derived the results. Then comes the results, then discussion. And in discussion also, you can clearly see that it should have introduction, the findings of the study, and the evaluation, how you have found out, the clear explanation of your evaluation, and finally, the conclusions it has to mention. There, clearly you have to mention the limitation of your work. You would have conducted a research. In that research, there may be so many limitations which is not applicable for your work. That limitation has to be mentioned clearly, and the future scope of your research also can be given. So this is the structure, that starting from abstract, introduction, literature review, methodology, results, discussion, conclusion, acknowledgements, and references. So in my own experience, how my supervisor has taught me to write a paper is, first of all, you need to have the results. So before writing your complete paper, you need to have the results of your work. Then after having results of your work, you need to be clear in the methodology how you got these results. So first of all, you will be having the results. Then write the methodology what you have used. Then you come to a discussion part. So with using these results, how I am going to proceed, or how I am going to discuss, or how I am going to manipulate this results, how I am going to do analysis for my work, and you be clear with your discussion part. After this, having a clear outline of the results and discussion part, then you go to the introduction section. In that introduction section, you need to take minimum 20 reference papers. A journal will have 15 to 20 reference papers. When you take 15 to 20 reference papers, keep in your mind that you need to take only maximum of the papers from the journals and limit to the conferences. Or if you are taking any conferences paper, try to see that whether that conference is a reputed conference and it is having a peer review. Only then you have to take the conferences paper, because almost 70% of the papers published through conferences don't have the quality and they don't follow the complete system of publishing the papers. So first of all, whenever you are doing introduction, take a clarity that you need to take 15 to 20 reference papers. In that, maximum of it can be a journal, a reputed book, and also some encyclopedias which you have referred from the internet. And then you need to complete the introduction. You have to clearly tell that what you have referred so far, what was the research gap identified, and what you have explained in this paper. All these things will have to come in the introduction section and literature review. After writing this, you need to write the conclusion. You have to imagine your paper, how it has proceeded, what is the methodology used, what was the results, what was the discussion, and you write the conclusion. After writing the conclusion, you write your abstract. So this is the flow which we need to follow. After writing your conclusion, clearly write your abstract. Whenever you are writing an abstract, you imagine the flow of your paper, keep everything in your mind, sit in a separate room where there is no disturbances, preferably in the morning time, and write your abstract in your own words. So this what we have mentioned, what the paper is telling, what the technology is there, what is the difference, what is the unique thing, what is the novelty, you need to write the abstract. After writing the abstract, now you completely go through your paper. If you are convinced, then you keep the title for your paper. This is the flow has to come. I will repeat once again. You have the research, then you write the discussion, methodology, introduction, conclusion, abstract, and title. This is how the structure of the paper has to be written. So when the components of the paper, coming to the components of the paper, it should have thus, whoever is engaged in the work, you kindly ensure, and then you include the authors. And whoever has done the work, you keep them as the corresponding author, because all the queries, reviews will come to the corresponding author. So he will be able to answer to everything. And then abstract, the keyword, very importantly, you need to identify the keywords for your paper, then introduction, methodology, results, discussion, and the acknowledgements, references. If there is any appendices needed, you can include in. For author listing, only include those who have made an intellectual contribution to the research. Just for namesake, don't add any people. Yeah, he is my friend, so I will include his name, like that. It should not be. Their contribution should be there in the paper, so that their ownership will be there in the paper. And are those who will publicly defend the data and conclusions, and who have approved the final version, their name can be included. Maybe your supervisor or your best friend who have done so many work along with you, you can add. Order the names of the authors can vary from discipline to discipline, and in some fields, the corresponding author's name appears first. This is how it has to be done. Then coming to the research. Clarity beforehand save times, generate ideas and publish. So before going to your publication, you need to find out to track the publications which is already there in the same field of research. That is very, very important, because many times we would have thought that only we have found this new unique novelty and we will start writing the paper, but already a researcher would have published that. So you need to do an excellent research before publication. You find out whether the same type of papers have been published, any same title has been there, or the same work has been told. What is the difference? Because we used to start our research 2 years before, and when we are about to write a paper, maybe our research would have already been published. So we need to be cross-checking through this research. Next is identifying the venue. So after writing the paper, publishing in the correct journal also is very much important, because simply blindly, if you go and submit the paper to a journal, the first stage itself, the editor will tell that this paper is not in the scope of our journal, and he will reject. That stage you should not go. So you need to identify 1 or 2 venues, and if any special issues are there, you need to go through the special issues, because the publishing time will be more fast in special issues. Then you read the author guidelines, and you see the mandate requirement of the journal. What is the objective of the journal? And you go and see the past already published in that journal, and you see whether our papers are related to our papers, if it is published there, and you do a small work to identify the venue. So let me show some easy methodology to identify the journal. See here, there is a journal finder in Elsewhere. I will show you how to identify the journal. So this is the link for journalfinder.elsewhere.com. So here you need to enter your paper title. I have kept one recent paper what I have published. I'm pasting the title of the paper. You need to take the abstract. Paste your abstract there. Then you can use some solar PV system is used. Neutral energy resources. ER is used. Then it's enough. Then field of research, you can choose it because it is energy related. I will choose energy or engineering, whichever you want, you can do. In engineering, you can select the exact. Then you can find the journals. If you do like this, see, you have 50 journals matching your paper. So you can see here, it is clear that it shows the citation score of the journal, impact factor, acceptance rate, very much important. So see here, this journal will accept only 18%. It is having that only 18% of the papers are, and the time taken for first decision is 5 weeks, and the time for publication is only 2 weeks. So this is somewhat good. Then EPS, like that you can have a complete review of the journal. See here, energy report, acceptance rate is 54%. So like that, you need to identify the journal, and based on that journal, you need to go. Again, while publishing, go with free publishing only. Mostly we can avoid going for any paid publications. So very important. So identifying the venue is very important. You need to identify the venue and you need to find the perfect journal. Go to the author guidelines. Then you just send the email or abstract according to the guidelines, or you say submit the complete paper. Then what editors are doing is, you need to follow the journal guidelines, what is given, the mandate of the journal. So what is the exact requirement that you need to follow. Then the originality, they will check the originality. So originality need to be there always, and the clarity of message, what you are going to convey to them, the structure, flow, the research methodology, the theoretical, practical implication, good title and abstract, and references. This is what the editors will verify, and the first decision is taken by the editor. So we need to convince the editor with all these things. They will not go the content of the technical issues have given. They will check only the flow. So on this paper publish, the main message, write your message sentence, the most important point you want to make. So through the table of contents of paper, which paper would you like to read? Which title is more interesting to you? What makes a good title? So first of all, where you go to the journal, you see the list of journals, which is papers which are already published, and you choose like that. Whenever your paper is submitted to a journal, the editor also should be convinced with all these 3 points. So like that, then the title is a very important concept, which is the complete tool to focus your paper. It is an advertisement to your paper. And what makes a good title, you need to do research. Nowadays, even there are tools available to find the title. You can give the words and the tools find the good title for you based on the choice which is given. Like that also you can keep a title. So title will describe your paper's content clearly, precisely, including keywords. And you should not use any abbreviations and any jargon sentences in the title. So any search engines or indexing databases, depending on accuracy of the title, you first of all you need to search, find the correct keywords for the work. So think of the title if you were to write a paper, and if you are convinced with that, you can proceed. Next is the should be not more than 300 words. It should be completely structured. The flow should be very clear, precise, and it should be interesting also. And you generate sentences like the results what we have discussed, methods are presented, future results discussed. Like that, some generic sentences can be avoided. So it's summarized, and the problem, the method, the results, and the conclusion, everything should come into your abstract. Together and abstract and on their own. So even if they are not reading your entire paper, they should be convinced with your title and abstract. So many authors write the abstract last so that it is accurately reflects the content of the paper. This is what I have mentioned you previously. Almost all the authors who are getting good publications, they write the abstract at the end after writing the paper so that they will get the complete reflection of the content of the paper. So if you read 3 abstract, you can write 3 abstracts, then you read 3 abstracts, you will accept one, you will pick that you pick. Then the very important SPSE technique is situation, problem, solution, and evaluation. It describes the general background or setting in which your research takes place. So in which area you are going to do the research. Then problem is describe a problem that the research addresses. So next situation, the area of your research. Second one is the problem. What problem you are going to address through your research, and the solution. What you are going to do or address for this problem, and how you are going to evaluate your solution. So situation, problem, solution, evaluation. This SPSE technique has to be always followed. So whenever you are writing a paper, on which area you are writing, what is the problem you have identified, what solution you have given, and how you are going to evaluate the solution. This is the technique which is needed to follow. After completing your entire paper, if your paper addresses all these 4 techniques, then your paper is full form. Then telling about the abstracts, who are intended readers? What do you do in your work? 50 words. Why did you do it? When you did, what happened? And what do the results mean in the theory? What do the results mean in the practice? What is the key benefit for the readers? What remains unresolved? This is how the abstract has to be addressed. So each need to give 50-50-50, and you need to clearly explain the clarity should come. So what did you do? Why did you do? What happened? What do the results mean in theory? What do the results mean in practice? What are the key benefits for the readers? And what are the unresolved problems still? What is the future scope of research? Like this, your abstract has to be clearly written. Then outline of your paper should have, before you start writing, you need to have outline. Then you need to structure it. Then a flow, logic, title, feedback. So see here, it has been written. I will show you clearly. So that introduction part should clearly state what problem is being investigated, what background explains the problem, what are the reasons for conducting the research. Then summarize and it tells that what this paper complete, the next sections, what it is going to explain clearly. And it also explains how your work is different from the already published work, and identify the questions you are answering, and explain what other findings, if any, if you are challenging or extending, what you are going to do, and briefly describe the experiment, hypothesis, research questions. It will complete as this introduction section. So introduction is very important. And then comes the methodology, what methodology you have done, explain how you studied the problem, what are the formula you have used for this work, how you derived the result, all those things will come. And also you include the future observations, what type of data were recorded, all these things will come in the methodology. And be precise in describing measurements and include errors of measurement of research when limits. So I know a researcher whose was accepted even when the results were wrong, but didn't tell the errors what he has recorded when he started his research. He have completed 4 years of his work, and after 4 years of the work only, the complete the setup, the research setup, what he has used had an error. That error is not disclosed to the supervisor till the end of the research. But somehow, popularity of the supervisor, that failure research also was accepted. So you need to explain clearly that while doing the methodology, or when you are doing some research setup, if you are doing some analysis, if there are any errors, that has to be disclosed clearly in your methodology. So one is background, objectives, method, findings, and conclusions. If you go to the level 2, it is a clear explanation of what you're going to tell in introduction, in methods used, and chapter 3 and conclusions. Then you go to the level 3, complete. This is the structure of the complete paper. So each section has a subsection, and if you list out all these things, if you are addressing all these things in your paper, then your paper will come to complete structure of your paper. So results. So objectively present your findings and explain what was found. Show that your results are contributing to the scientific knowledge. You need to follow a logical sequence on the tables and figures. You need to always, whatever you are in your paper, all the table has to be clearly discussed in your discussion. If you are any figures, the figure has to be quoted inside your explanation, and it should answer the questions why it has been included here. So figures should have a brief description, providing the reader sufficient information to know how the data was produced. So any table, any figures, it need to be clearly included in your discussion part, so that the reader will have a clarity on why these figures have been included and why this table has been included. If it is a table with data, how this data has been arrived. All these things has to come into the results section. Finally, the conclusion section. It is very important for a paper to have an excellent conclusion section where you explain what is your results, what is the content of your paper. It will indicate how the results have related to the objectives of the paper and how the research has moved step by step towards a forwarding condition. And do not extend your conclusion beyond what is directly supported by your results. Unless it is expressed in your results, that alone has to be reflected in your conclusion. Beyond that reflections, you don't extend anything in your conclusion, because whatever you have done, whatever you have written, that has to be concluded, and very discussion should not come there. Then you need to steps further has to give a clear outline, has to be given in the conclusion section. Then comes the references. So whenever you draw upon previously published work, you must acknowledge the source. Any information not from your experiment and not from common knowledge based by the citation. So references presented where it should be referred to notes for authors of a specific journal, and the style of references also has to be clearly identified by the author's guidelines, and it has to be presented. Next is, there are so many styles. Harvard reference style, that style has to be followed. Von Harvard style, this is the style of referencing. Then comes the article submission. So we need to select the journal carefully, read the complete objectives and scope of the journal, and think about the audience and the level of the work, and do you have a realistic chance of being accepted. Then only you decide the journal, follow the guidelines and include everything what they have asked, and articles should be submitted to more than one journal at a time. It is very, very, very important. So only at a time you need to submit to only one journal, and you need to wait for that. Unless there is any rejection or something else, if you want to withdraw it, after that only you need to go for another journal. So parallelly, you should not submit articles multiple journals. So there are now we are having many online submission. All the publications are through online submission only. So we need to be very clear on how this review procedure is happening, how long it will take, and what expectations. Any invaluable for authors in low-income countries. Some journals will accept without any processing fee for low-income countries. Like that, and you need to clearly have ideas. Then, if you take the author's priorities for journal selection, Elsewhere has its own way of selecting journals. IEEE is having its own way of acceptance. So the key determining factors what we have been given training in Elsewhere and all, that is the author priority is we will see about impact factors, reputation, access to the audience, overall editorial standards, publications, international coverage, all those things. And author priorities for journal selection is the quality, collection, habit, previous publication you need to see, and you need to see the speed. So we need to know the impact factor of the journal, the reputation of the journal, whether it is open access or not, like that you need to know. So after selection, most journal editors will make an initial decision on the paper to review or to reject. So the first stage of acceptance is by the editor, and he will take the decision and he will review, or you will send to review, or he will reject. Most 0.2 reference, but nowadays it is 6, 8 like that it goes. It depends on the journal. IEEE, IET, and elsewhere they are minimum they have 4 to 6. Referring speed is tremendously between journals. Author should receive a decision of accept with the revision, whether it is minor rejection, minor revision, or major revision, or completely rejection. If the most editors will write to you explaining the decision. Mostly, the reputed journals will clearly mention you that why your paper is rejected. Journals, they will simply tell that there is no novelty, so rejected. So there are only very less journals like that. So after rejections, author have the option for submitting the paper to another journal, or if there is any revision, you can submit to the same journal. So the peer review process is like this. When one paper is submitted, you will get a confirmation of receipt, initial decision of the editor, then he will send to the reviewers. Based on that, revise, accept, or reject. Like that, it goes. So, tips: editors and reviewers are looking for original and innovative research that will add to the field of study. This is the very important tip. For research-based paper, ensure that you have enough numbers to justify. Just with 2 results don't justify your objectives or the problem statement. You should have at least 4 or 5 results. If you go and view the IEEE journal papers and IET papers and many elsewhere top priority papers, you can see that they would have justified their work with the n number of results. Only when you more your acceptance rate is more. So for a large study, it may be better to produce one important research paper rather than number of average incremental papers. This is what is the difference between the normal research institution and the IITs. If you go to IITs, they will be doing the research for 4 to 5 years, and at the end of the research, they will be publishing one IEEE journal paper, and they will finish their PhD. But what we will do as a normal researcher is, we will be continuously, we want to have more number of papers. So we will be trying for average incremental journals. So that is not good. You need to do a larger study and produce one important research paper and conference basically. And whenever you are choosing a conference, whenever you want to study more and do your publications in a reputed journal, tap the top conferences which are conducted in our country and go present your paper. There, while reviewing itself, they will give you a number of comments. And when you are presenting the paper also, you will get good feedback from the personalities who are reviewing your work. And after that, you have to include all the work in your paper, which is going to be your journal paper. Implement all those things and you publish. So I will suggest that the young budding researchers who are about to write a good journal paper, first they have to present in a reputed conference. So it should be a conference of very high importance. There are in every field there are important conferences. So if you take the Power System Engineers National Power System Conference is very important conference. National Power Electronics Conference is there, and ICPS International Conference for Power Systems is there. All these are the reputed conferences. Like that, you need to publish your paper in your conference, get the comment, update your work, and then you publish in the journals. This is how it is. Then the habit of writing. So whenever you are going to write, you write. Writing at the end of a long list of tasks, no fixed deadline. I can find the time for writing, or I have no energy for writing. But unless otherwise you write, if you have the habit of writing, you cannot produce good journals. So you need to write. Then you need to write, and you take the permanent structure of your paper, proofread, spell check the reference, take the feedback from the co-authors and your friends, and then you draft the paper. If your paper is rejected, find out why. Why my paper is rejected. My supervisor used to tell me again and again, first of all, we should be convinced with our work. Whenever you write your paper, you read your paper and you need to be convinced first. Only when you are convinced, viewers or reader will get convinced. So find out why this paper has been rejected, what wrong with the, and then rework your paper. So whenever it is rejected, don't just send the same paper to the another journal. Rework the paper and you make the correct thing what the previous reviewers has rejected, and then target a different venue. Resubmit soon, because whenever a paper is coming for revision, you need to resubmit soon. If you delay it, again that work will be published somewhere. The reviewers would have been changed. So many problems are there. So whenever there is a rejection, find out why, rework it, target the venue, and again you resubmit. And there are a number of journals. We have like ACI, Scopus Indexed, or UGC approved, like that, a list of journals. Always target the highest journal. First, when you are submitting your paper, you do the work completely and you submit to the higher level of journal first. Usually, I have found that IEEE, IET, like that, reputed journals, they will give proper reviewer comments. There may be a list of even one-page reviewer comments and all I have seen. Then they would have rejected. Then you need to rework your paper with all the comments what the reviewers have given. After reworking your paper, then you submit to the second level of journal. 100% that paper will get accepted. So this is how we need to do, and we need to rework and submit your paper so that your publications are going to the proper publications. So after submission, if they have asked for revision, celebrate it. Unless otherwise the reviewers are convinced, they will not ask you to revise. So whenever you are getting a revision, you need to celebrate that, and you need to clearly address the comments, and properly there are certain formats how you need to address the comments, follow the formats, follow the guidelines, and submit within a day. When you submit within a day, again immediately it will go to the same reviewers, and if they are convinced, they will accept for publications. So you need to take utmost care to address all the reviewers' concern, and don't take anything personally. There are so many reviewers. If they are, they will take very harsh words for writing that decision also. So don't take anything personally. It is our work, and we have submitted the paper, and the person who is sitting almost around 50,000 kilometers ahead, they don't know what we have done. They don't know the scenario what we are working. So don't take it anything personally. Just you rework and submit, and it will lead to succeed. Next, very important for our researchers is the plagiarism. So as I already mentioned, whenever you are writing a paper, if you write on your own words, then there will be no plagiarism at all. All my papers so far, what I have published, I have written, and whenever I am checking in reputed softwares also, I never get even 1 or 2% of plagiarism. Like that, you need to tell. For example, a note-taking handout, as we are go through the assignment notes, or write down any questions you have, and you make a sample outline, and you need to do paraphrasing. I will tell you what is paraphrasing is. For example, see here, direct quote from the research: Japan's beautiful Mount Fuji last erupted in 1707 and is now classified as dormant. Dormant volcanoes show no signs of activity, but they may erupt in the future. This is what is the actual research. Now, how it can be written so that there will be no plagiarism at all? Mount Fuji, the highest mountain in Japan, is actually a dormant volcano. Dormant means that it is not active. The last time Mount Fuji erupted was in 1707, and there is always the possibility of a future eruption. The meaning remains the same, but see here, if you do a paraphrasing, then there will be no plagiarism at all. Like that, I have given one more example. There also the same meaning has been repeated again, but there will be no plagiarism at all. Like that, when you read a sentence, take the meaning in your mind and you repeat in your paper, and don't follow the same sequence. You change the sequence, and whatever you have understood, write it in your paper. You will not get any pleasure. So finally, you need to proofread again and again so that your paper will come into a correct picture. So you need to follow this sequence, whether the words are spelled correctly, whether you have capitalized the beginning of each sentence and all proper nouns, whether the punctuations are correct, grammar is correct, whether did I answer all the topic questions and fulfill the requirements, did I include an introduction and conclusion, did I type the paper using the correct font size, line spacing, margin requirements. So if you use LaTeX, all these are not needed for at all. You need not worry about it. LaTeX will do everything properly so that your output will become very perfect. So did I paraphrase all content? Did I use any parenthetical notations or quotations? Do my sentences make sense when I reach aloud? When I had my paper pre-edited, have I had already? Does my paper flow well? Did I include a bibliographic page? So you need to again check all these things. You need to do multiple proofreading so that you will publish the best research paper, whatever is needed. So the outcome of this session is you will learn how to choose a topic, depends on the length of your paper. You choose a narrator topic for a short paper and a broader topic, and learn how to write the thesis statement, that is the complete body of your paper. And you will learn how to explain the difference between the primary and secondary source, like that, plagiarism checking, and how to edit your paper, necessary changes. So to summarize what we have learned in this session is, you can make the topic very clearly. You have to write the introductory statement, the outline of your paper, and compile the information, plagiarism checking, bibliography, and proofreading. So I hope I have covered what this was the objectives, and now it is the time for your questions. Thank you for your patience listening. So you can chat your questions.
Yeah, one participant is
Yes, sir,
asking,
yes, sir.
Hello. One participant asking about explain about the impact factor.
Sir, why references are counted into plagiarism?
Yes, yes. One question.
I will answer for that questions. No, whenever plagiarism is checked.
Hi.
Whenever plagiarism is checked, all the leading journals they will remove the references, then only they will check the plagiarisms. So even when the plagiarism report is coming to the reviewers like us, I have seen that they will remove the references section, then only they will check the plagiarism and they will check. So nowhere references are included in the plagiarism. Whenever you are writing the content in your introduction section or literature review, if you are properly cited, that will never come into the plagiarism at all.
Sir,
yes, ma'am.
Sir, good morning, sir. And this is Dr. Mal from MM College of Engineering and Technology. Actually,
Yes.
one participant asked to explain about the impact factor.
Okay.
How
One minute. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I will just go online so that it will be very easy to calculate impact factor. Is my screen viewable for you all?
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
Screen is not shared.
1 minute, sir.
Pin your screen. Please pin your screen, then it will be shared.
Yes, ma'am. 1 minute, ma'am.
I request the participant to pin your screen. It is visible.
Visible, sir.
Okay.
It is visible. Please, I request the participants to pin your screen.
I'm seeing. So if you can see here, the impact factor of the journal is calculated by dividing the number of current year citations to the source items published in that journal during the previous 2 years. So if A is total cities in 1992 and B is 1992 cites to article published in 1990 to 91, C is number of articles published in 1990 to 91, then B is B by C. So 1992 is the impact factor. So how many sites are there in the year 1992? And B is 1992 sites to the articles published in the year 1990-91. It is a subset of A, and C is the number of articles published in that particular year. Then B, the impact factor is nothing but B divided by C. This is how this Clarivative Analytics company is the Science Citation Index company, which the SEO journals are being listed by this company only. So this is how the impact factor is found out. And nowadays, the 5-year impact factor is very important. If you see the 5-year impact factor, A is the citations in 1992 to articles published in 1987 to 91, and B is the article published in 1987 to 91. And the 5-year impact factor C is nothing but A divided by B. So citations in 1992 to articles published in 87 to 91, then the article published in 87 to 91, that is the impact factor for the 5 years. This is how impact factor is calculated. Hope it is clear now.
No.
Yeah. After the session is over, I will be sharing you the entire PPT for your reference. And also, I will be sharing you an event feedback form. If you have submitted the event feedback form, within a week, you will receive your e-certificate. Any more questions?
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Tell me, ma'am.
Sir, in writing the introduction, is it necessary to address the others? Actually, we are doing the literature survey, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So we are representing the citations in introduction. Is it necessary
Yes,
to address the those authors in this introduction?
Ma'am, actually, if you are having your own papers,
Yes, sir.
you are asking about the self-citation.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. Actually, I am taking some other papers, some other references. So,
Yes, ma'am.
while writing the introduction, we have to represent the citations from those papers.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
So,
Introduction.
we have to mention the author name. Is it
Yes,
necessary?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Actually, there are different styles of citing.
Okay,
Some mostly 90% of the journals are following the numbering citing system, and finally at the end you will have the references.
Okay,
And
sir.
there are,
But
yes, ma'am. Tell me, ma'am.
but is it necessary to mention that author name?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. In the references section, there are 4 or 5 styles of
Yes, sir.
referencing. Based on your authors, you need to mention the name of the authors also.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So one more doubt, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any particular format for graphing the graphs while writing the journals?
No, ma'am. Actually, drawing the graphs and all, it is on your own. No particular way of, because there is no different styles. How you are going to represent your work, how you are going to explain the work, how better you are going to present your work, it depends on that. So for graphing, there is no separate styles. You can follow on your style, and only thing that whenever the image is being pasted in your paper, that imaging, there are some rules based on the journals that you need to follow.
Okay, sir. Sir, you can, hello?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, you can suggest any graphing tools, better graphing tools.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, ping me in my mail. I will send you the graphing tools, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sir, one more doubt.
Yes, sir.
Sir, from the references we are citing, no, sir. If there is any necessary that we have to cite in the introduction and rest of the part, my doubt is, in abstract, will you
Yes,
able
sir.
to cite the authors also?
No, sir. No, sir. Actually, in abstract, you need not include any references section because abstract is totally explaining about your work. It is not going to explain anything about others' work. So in abstract, it should be reflecting your own work only, and it will explain about your work only. So other work will not get references there. It should be in any part of your paper other than abstract and conclusion. Somewhere in results also you can have citations.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, this is Kamalakan and Dr. Kamalakan from SA Engineering College.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tell me, sir.
Sir, you had covered almost all parts, sir.
Yes,
Can
sir.
you tell me about that H index, item, and then the citation? Please throw
Yes,
some
sir.
light on it.
H index I will tell you. I will have the screen so that there you can easily see. So the screen is shown here. So H index is the number intended to represent both the productivity and the impact of a particular scientist. Whenever we are publishing paper, H index will explain you how our research work has progressed and how one particular journal has been again and again cited. So now, suppose if my H index is 7, then it means that minimum seven papers have got 7 citations. That is what it is mentioning. So the H index is calculated by counting the number of publications for which an author has been cited by other authors at least the same number of times. So if H index is 17, 17 of my journals have minimum 17 citations. Each journal is having 17 citations. It is minimum. Maximum it can be more. So for instance, an H index of 17 means that the scientist has published at least 17 papers, that each paper has cited at least 17 times. So each paper has to be again and again used by other people 17 times. Then the H index is 17. Is it clear?
Nice, sir. Sir, can you please explain me about I-10, sir?
I-10 index is, suppose if you are having one particular journal, and if that journal crosses 10 citations, then that is called as I-10 index. Right? I will explain that also here. Other than this, we have the Scopus index, Mendel Ablons index is there. So I-10 index is again created by Google Scholar only. H index and I-10 index is presented by Google Scholar. See here, I-10 index is nothing but the number of publications with at least 10 citations. So if one publication reaches 10 citations, then your I-10 index is 1. If your 5 publications have reached each 10 citations, then your I-10 index is 5. It's different, I-10 index is different.
Nice, sir. Thank you, sir. You have covered almost all parts, sir. I triggered the... Nice, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
So one more doubt.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, I'm at college.
Yes, ma'am. Tell me, ma'am.
We have any information regarding the equipment? How is it possible for us to partner engineering?
Ma'am, your voice is breaking. Can you tell clearly?
No, in case if we come out with a new, like a new equipment or a small device or any software, how is it possible for us to, or what is the method to get it part of engineering journal? Because it is more equipment or a device related.
Yes, ma'am. It can be an equipment, it can be a device. Even whatever equipment or device, it will be having results. So based on the way it is working and based on the way it has been produced, you can publish in papers. Or if your work is having excellent novelty, you can apply it as a patent. So you can go for a patent publication. And your idea, your device can be patented rather than going for paper publications. If that equipment is having a unique feature, you can go for patenting.
Because work, I mean, mechanical equipment related, go on testing component and few other things, or it should
Yes.
be related. So we difficult to publish our articles in, I mean, devices or quality. Find
Yes,
it
ma'am.
difficult because these journals. So can you give me like how do we go searching for the engineering field and then?
Yes, ma'am. You can go for patenting rather than publishing because when you are publishing, the results should be explained clearly and it has to have a multiple results. So whenever you are manufacturing any machine,
Okay.
go for patenting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. So one question is, I will try to answer the questions. Yeah, one participant has told that his guide has checked plagiarism in Turnitin and counted references saying that it is compulsory. No, not at all. The references section will not be included in it is not necessary. And last, yes, question is, can you make some point on research paper versus literature survey? Can we just publish a research survey? It is my third question. Okay, no problem at all. See, actually, a research paper will have its own research survey. So, if a complete survey, you can do a detailed survey of your research, and you can submit your paper as a review paper. There are so many reputed journals in elsewhere at IEEE where they accept only the reviews. So you can choose the review papers and you can submit and you can get it published also. Doing a complete thorough review also is a research. There are so many people who have done that. Any questions?
Sir, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you,
Sir,
ma'am.
thank you for this wonderful session, sir. Because as young budding research engineers, we learn a lot from your session, sir. Actually,
Thank you.
we people are getting confused how to choose area, topic, everything, and you have explained a lot and clearly from choosing the topic to how to conclude it, how to apply, how to choose the journals, how to apply, how to check the mechanism, everything. So you have covered almost a full research area for all research scholars. So on behalf of research scholars, I thank you very much for this wonderful sessions, and you have shared your knowledge regarding this research, and we have learned a lot. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for this amazing.
Thank you,
Amazing.
thank you.
We have learned a lot. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I really feel delighted to be part of this session.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, sir. One more question I want to ask.
Please, ma'am.
Sir, can you just differentiate the SCI journals and the Web of Science journal? Whether SCI journals and Web of the Science journals are same or different, sir?
Same, ma'am. Same, ma'am.
Oh, so if you are publishing whether Web of Science journals means it is actually coming under the index of SCI also. Is it
Yes,
correct,
ma'am. Yes.
sir?
Correct, ma'am. Correct, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you for the useful session.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Sir, I have one question, sir. Sir, actually, when we want to publish any paper in any Scopus or science index journals, at the time, how we can identify the perfect journal? That means how we can identify the journals which is publishing our area papers, sir?
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, I have shown you how to find out using this elsewhere. There are so many things like that.
Yes,
I
sir.
share this presentation. Journal
Okay,
Finder is there. So there you need to paste your title and your fact, and then you find the journals. More than 50 journals you will get, and so you can make a thorough study about the journals, and then you can choose the journal. So you need to have a convinced results for that. If you have confident to go with SCI journals,
Okay,
then
sir.
Scopus Index journals.
Okay, sir. Here, my question is, I just want to know which journal is publishing. For example, if I am doing in cancer detection, so which journal is doing much work or publishing much papers in that particular area?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just Google it, journals for cancer detection, like that. You will get so many biomedical journals, and
Okay,
in that you have to choose the reputed journals like that Web of Science journals or SCI index journals or Scopus journals. You need to go see the quality of the journal. You choose 5 journals.
Okay, sir.
Do a thorough study about how papers are published previously.
Okay.
See that whether your work and the previously published papers are all matching, and based on that you identify the journal and see if the publishing speed also and editor, everything, you have a thorough study and then you submit the paper, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So thank you very much for your suggestion, sir. It's a wonderful
Thank you,
session.
sir.
Once again, thank you for this informative session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Any more questions? Yes, sir. One more question from Mr. Hamid. If I write a research paper, my work is carried out using a software tool, which is Canvas. Will my research work be accepted or rejected? For example, rapid, minor, whatever it may be. Sir, any work which is carried out through a tool, if your objectives are very clear and if you have contributed for that work and if your findings are correct, 100% whatever tool you are using, your research paper will get published. So it only depends upon the objective and the problem what you have identified and how you are giving a solution for that problem, and through which tool you are using, it doesn't matter at all. It will get published. Yes, sir. Any more questions?
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Sir, could you please touch the area of self-citation, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, the self-citation is the papers, the what we have already published, and the same author paper is being cited in the same work. But mostly people used to continuous research. For example, whenever we are taking a research area, we will be extending the research area and we will be doing, and mostly we will not make anything new. So whatever we have already published, you can cite it. That will come under self-citation. In some places, that self-citations will not be included in your HLX also. In mostly, it will get included. So, but when your area of research is different, when research is different and there is no correlation between the paper, you need not do any self-citation. Unless otherwise, if the same work has some reflection in your paper, you can cite it, or else you need not do self-citation. That itself will become a negative impact on your paper.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I think we are about to end the session. So I feel delighted to be associated with almost around 1,000 learned faculty members. We are streaming live also, and we have around 88 participants. We have limited the participants because we want to see whether there is any network jam. So we have limited only 125 participants. So almost the participants are there. And we hope that we have touched something, what simple knowledge, what I have shared the knowledge to you all. And your active participation. And I thank our department HOD, Professor Rakamal, and also our principal and dean for giving us such an opportunity to interact with the learned faculty members. Research is a field where we can enjoy doing the work. So I request you all to have an extended research during this lockout period and contribute more. We are planning to conduct another session where we will be touching up on how to write a successful project. So I hope that we all will meet in that session and we will do our level best, and I will touch upon how to write a effective research proposal so that it will lead to funding. So I once again thank all the participants for keeping engaged in this session and taking some knowledge from here so that it will be used for the community. So whatever research we are doing, it should reach the community. Unless it has reached the community, our research will not be useful at all. So whenever you are doing a work, connect through the community, do for some work for the community cause, and make the research more useful. Thank you. Thank you. Shall we end the session, ma'am?
Sir, thank you, sir. I thank all the participants for your patience and watching this wonderful sessions. And we will send the feedback link and and also e-certificates to all the participants. Sir, actually, few participants they wanted to join, but they are not getting your link. They are not able to connect your link. Anyway, we will send the PowerPoint presentation and your recorded video to all, sir.
Yes, sir.
So thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful session, and we learned lot. So
Thank
on
you.
behalf of the participants and faculty members and management, I will thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your wonderful session, sir. And people are getting ignited for your speech, and surely we will move forward to our research. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
madam. Thank you,
Okay,
Prof.
sir. Okay, sir. We will end up the meeting, sir. Thank you all
Thank you.
participants.
Thanks to all
Thank
the
you.
participants.
Yeah.